Sayyidina Umar had two people came to him. One is in debt to the other. And he was telling Sayyidina Umar, I will pay him next Sha'ban. I will pay him in the month, not this Sha'ban, the month before Ramadan, in the next one. And Sayyidina Umar said, what year? Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam reached a point in his da'wah, calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in one of the toughest times. And this was in about the 10th year of the 10 years of al-Bi'atha, the 10th year of being a prophet, where he lost his wife, where he lost his uncle. And then once these two were gone, then the people of Mecca absolutely unleashed their hurt, their attacks on Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, followed immediately by trying to look for other ways. So he went to Taif, as we all know, or let's just remind each other, he went to that amazing trip, walking with Zayd, get there, invited them, nobody responded. Not only nobody responded, they actually responded harshly, went back as he was walking back, sent their children throwing rocks on his blessed legs that he starts bleeding, stood up looking at Mecca, and then made the famous dua of al-Ta'if, meaning of where I am gonna go, Ya Allah, where I am, where are you leaving me to? And then he said his famous word, if all what I am going through is not because you are not happy with me, it doesn't matter. إن لم يكن بك غضب علي فلا أبالي. Subhanallah, look at it, it's in the toughest moment of his life. He's talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and saying, Ya Allah, if all this difficulty I'm going through is not as a result, you are not happy with me, that's a Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, then it doesn't matter. And he came back from Ta'if, nothing. And the attacks and the hurt of the people of Mecca increased and increased. And then the order came in. I'm going to take you through certain steps, and in every step we're going to say, what do I learn? So the time came in when Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam gave the order that the Muslims leave Mecca. It's becoming too hard to stay, leave. But he didn't leave first. He asked them all to leave. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr, as always, sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey. He was packing to leave. And Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said, don't leave. I'm waiting for an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr stayed for 4 months, getting ready, waiting for that moment that he will leave with the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. Why Mecca? Why Medina? Why the immigration was to Medina? Why was not to anywhere else? And this is because Allah said so. Allah said so. Allah chose Al-Madinah. Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, that's why they call it Al-Munawwara, the enlightened city. What do I learn? When Allah ordered me to do something, I need to respond. Sami'na wa ata'na. And in a hadith, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, he was telling the Sahaba, I was shown the city or the town of your migration. And it is actually between two mountains. And the meaning of you leave. And most of the people started gradually migrating to Medina. People, some of them were already in Abyssinia. They came back from Abyssinia directly to Medina. The first people who migrated to Medina, not Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, in fact, he was the last one to migrate, was actually Mus'ab ibn Umair and Abdullah ibn Maktoum. Mus'ab ibn Umair, the youth who was killed at Uhud, and Abdullah ibn Maktoum, the blind man who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Abasa, the Surah Abasa, because of him. They were the first two. Then came Ammar ibn Yasir, then Sayyidina Bilal, then Sayyidina Sa'ad, then Sayyidina Umar, and then others. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam was the last one. And this hadith was narrated by Sayyidah Aisha. This is in Al-Bukhari, and said the following. He said, one day, it's a story, so I'm going to share the story with you. She said, one day, in the middle of a hot day, of course Mecca is always hot. She said, in the middle of the day, in a hot day, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam came to our home almost covered. She said, this is not the usual time. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam come and visit us. He knocked on the door. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu opened the door. And Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam asked him, is there anyone else in the house? And he said, yes, it's my family. And he said, ask them to leave. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr said, they are my family, they are your family. And he said to Sayyidina Abu Bakr, I was given the order and the permission to leave. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr, and he said, companionship, meaning I'm going to go with you. And Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said, yes, as-suhbah, companionship. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr took 2 mounts and they left. And Sayyida Asma, his daughter, look at the family of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, made food for them. And then she actually had a belt, cut the belt into 2 pieces to put the food on with each one. And that's why she was called the woman of 2 belts. And then she tied the container of the food, and they left. As you probably all of you know, they went 3 days, went north, 3 days in the mountain of Thawr. They stayed there. And then Abdullah ibn Bakr, the son of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, was a young man. He used to come to them in the night, tell them what's going on in Mecca, then go during the day and come back in the night. And then Sayyidina Abu Bakr had a helper, was also a shepherd. In the night, he brings the sheep in the night, brings the sheep to Ghar Thawr, to the Jabal Thawr, to the mountain, and then he actually bring the milk and give it to them. Then the Rasul ﷺ hired the guide, which you all know that, and the guide was non-Muslim, and he migrated to Medina, took him roughly 14 days, arrived to Medina, and then when he arrived to Medina, the people of Medina welcomed him. He first stayed, prayed in Masjid Quba, لَمَسْجِدٌ أُسِسَ عَلَى التَّقْوَى حَقُّ أَن تَقُومَ فِيهِ, a masjid that was built and founded on taqwa is way more. A haqq has the right that you pray in it. And then after that, about 3-4 days, he went, and then the camel basically landed on a small empty area where it actually was like a garden, or palm trees were there, and it was owned by 2 orphans. And then Al-Qaswa, his mount, stood there, and he said, that's where we're going to build the masjid. He built the masjid, and then the rest is history. What is the rest is history? That move, that migration happened. In fact, it didn't happen in Muharram. It happened in Rabi'ul Awwal, the 3rd month in the Islamic history. And he reached Medina around day 12 or 14 of Rabi'ul Awwal. So why then we are celebrating and start counting the Islamic year from that day, from today, from the 1st of Muharram? Subhanallah. Number 1 reason, it didn't happen at the time of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. It actually happened at the time of Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Umar had 2 people came to him. One is in debt to the other. And he was telling Sayyidina Umar, I will pay him next Sha'ban. I will pay him in the month, not this Sha'ban, the month before Ramadan, in the next one. And Sayyidina Umar said, what year? That's when he gathered all the Sahaba, and they said, we need to start to have dates where we can know the dates, know the days, and we can actually numerate them, and we can put our covenants and our agreements and our contracts dated by it. So the Sahaba gathered around Sayyidina Umar, and they said, what's the date we choose? Which date we choose? And then they had 4 options. This is the time of Sayyidina Umar. Some suggested the time when the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam was born. Some suggested the time is when the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam became a prophet, or he came out publicly as a prophet, or al-bi'tha. Some suggested the date he migrated to Medina, and some suggested the date that he died. That was the debate. There was 4 options. Which one Muslims should use as their beginning of the year? They put their year and the time of the year, the month of the year, in that time. Which one? When the Rasul ﷺ was born was an option. Was it when the Rasul ﷺ became a prophet or received the revelation? Or when he migrated or immigrated to Medina? Or when he died? The Sahaba debated with Sayyidina Umar. He actually asked for their opinion. He wanted mashwara, as we call it, consultation. Let's see which one. They said to take the time of the death of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, we don't want to keep remembering it. It's painful for us. That the year he was sent, or the month he became a prophet, or the month when he was born, there's a different opinion about the month and the year exactly. The year is not, but the month exactly, there was different opinion. They said, let's take the month of Muharram of the year when he immigrated, because all of them know the year he immigrated. But why Muharram? Well, we just said he immigrated in Rabi'ul Awwal. The reason is because the decision to immigrate was done in Muharram. Because in Dhul Hijjah, the last month of the year, during Hajj, is when the 70 people from Medina came in, met with the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, and they invited him to come to Medina. Or they told him, if you come to Medina, we will welcome you and it will be your city. But he was waiting for the order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The niyyah, the intention to immigrate to Medina was in Muharram. But he waited till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him the order through the dream, which was in Rabi'ul Awwal. So they decided Muharram will be the first month which is the first month of the year. We will take it as the first day is the first day of the Islamic history.